I can't hear you. Hello? Stephanie, I can't hear you. Hey, now I can hear you.
You hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
All right. I don't know what that was about. Sorry. Like, we did an audio check before and everything, but
Okay.
thanks for sticking in there. So I had said in the beginning when I guess nobody could hear me that, we're doing a live stream to hopefully be able to find some common ground after a little bit of a checkered, past.
Okay.
So and then we're going to talk about 3 topics that we had agreed upon. The role of the union, school reopening, and using social media as a teacher. We'll spend about 10 or 15 minutes on each topic.
No
and
problem.
Our goal, like I said, is to hopefully find some common ground and where we don't, respectfully disagree. So
okay.
Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Not yet.
All right, not yet. All right, is there anything else that you want to say? I guess when my audio wasn't working, I said you're a New York City teacher and you're the creator of the South Bronx blog.
Yeah, southbronxschool.com. I do want to say something to you. I was going to write it on my blog. I owe you an apology because I didn't know you were Jewish. And that blog post I wrote a couple months ago about you comparing this to COVID, using that poem. Okay, I still disagree with you on using that poem. Okay, but I apologize for saying you were anti-Semite and all that stuff. I didn't know, so I apologize wholeheartedly.
Okay, and I do appreciate that, and that was going to be a point if this came up that I was going to make, is that perhaps it was a little extreme. I do think there is some sort of an analog there, or, maybe the Holocaust is too close. We can talk about it in context of other things that have happened. And like I said, I'm willing to go into that conversation, but I think the disagreement should definitely be about the use of that and not like any personal attacks.
Yeah,
I do think that there's a conversation there.
And I apologize. But again, only a Jew can get away with, like Mel.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a different conversation. I definitely want to stay on topic.
But I'm just saying, it's like Mel Brooks did stuff that only a Jew can do.
Sure. I guess there's a little privilege in that.
So I don't know if Mel Brooks is before your time, or not.
I know a little bit.
Okay.
So I guess the first topic, and this is one of the main topics that we rally with, is the role of the union. What is the purpose of a union? What should the role of the union be?
The role of the union is to protect the teachers, collectively bargain for them. Okay, look out for the teachers. Now, I'm like you. There's a lot of things the UFT does and doesn't do that I disagree with. But I would rather have a dysfunctional union than no union at all. And I would rather work to change it from within than from without. And if you go back to my blog 10 years, I have no love. There's no love lost for a lot of the things the union does. And I will call them out on it. And there's a lot of things that the union has done well, and I will say that as well. Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No. I was gonna just say that at least in the regards of, I'm not convinced, or at least without trying to work from within. I will say up to this point, I started to try to get involved a little bit this year. Up to this point, I've been really super focused on teaching. I feel like I was asked to my building, like, run for a union spot, and I was just like, I don't think it's my time yet. Like, I'm still trying to figure out my classroom thing. I'm up, I don't think I could put my full effort into it right now. I do feel like I am getting to that point in my career where I have the resources in terms of, time. I'm not pouring everything into planning my lessons. I have, more control over that. So I do agree. I would like to try to change from within, but I guess I'm just not as convinced in the fundamental need for them there.
The fundamental need for the union?
Right. Yeah. Like I'm not convinced, like when I look at some other professions, especially professions that teachers say that they would compare themselves to professionally, like, doctors, lawyers, accountants, like these other kind of like white collar professions.
Yeah, but we're not we're not professionals like them. Okay. We have, I can tell you horror stories of teachers that have been principals have gone after them, after me, for the littlest things.
Yeah, but how is that different though from those workplaces?
Because
I have friends in corporate, and I've heard horror stories from corporate too.
Okay, but but I'm guaranteed my due process rights. Okay, teachers are guaranteed their due process rights. It's also collective bargaining. Okay, without the teachers union, we're going to have 50 kids in a classroom.
I don't know if that's true though, because there's schools without unions that don't have 50 kids in a classroom.
Well, that's not New York City. Okay, if I come up to Ardsley, you're not going to have 50 kids in a classroom because it's only about 1,000 students in the whole.
Yeah, but they do have a teachers union.
Yes, they do.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm just saying, like, there's states that don't have teachers unions.
I'll tell you, Florida right now, I have dear friends who are very active in the Orange County Teachers Union. Okay, and their rights have been basically stripped away from the state. They don't have the right to collectively bargain for their salaries. They don't have the right to collectively bargain for their salaries in Wisconsin.
But do you think that, like, so if I was to get hired, right? So like I got a job before this because when I first was applying to DOE schools, I was like applying like crazy and I wasn't getting any, like nobody was calling me back. Like this was still kind of early in the process, but in my head being like eager and young, I'm like, yo, I should have a job by now. I ended up with several job offers in the end, but I was getting worried. So I actually went to go get a job at a private school, kind of like, because it was the end of June going into July and I was nervous. And I got to negotiate my contract. Like they said, here's what we're offering you. And then I went through and I said, well, actually, I want this much money because of my credentials. And, I don't about this over here. Like, and so I got to negotiate for what I felt I was worth.
Well, that's wonderful. And and you can get terminated for cause, not even for cause, just because they don't like you. Okay. And that's your right to do that. Okay. My right would be to try to unionize your private school because you have rights. Okay. I've seen too many teachers. I can give you horror stories.
No, I mean, I've heard horror stories. I just think, I guess like I'm not for, it's not that I don't think that there shouldn't be any democratic representation. And, I see people talking about for our great, the pensions and the benefits. And I hear you, but I also see like the private sector, they don't get paid as well in the private sector. I think we're probably a little bit overpaid in some ways, and our pensions are really good. Overpaid? I mean, compared to what the free market is willing to pay, I don't know. Like, I think we're paid.
My colleagues up the road, up in Armonk, are making at max salary, are making 25,000, 30,000 more than me.
I mean, they do more into what's it called? They pay higher property taxes out there. I mean, I guess it's what the free market's willing to pay, but I think that there is a weird difference between like, and this goes for other jobs too, that are government jobs. There seems to be a gap in what you get paid in the government versus in the free market. And I don't know, we're getting a little bit into the sticks here.
Something. What would be your idea, your suggestion for bargaining and work safety?
Well, I think like historically, unions played a very important role in getting those basic worker protections, the 8-hour workday, especially like the safety conditions, getting benefits. But I think a lot of those things have become
women teachers not getting fired for being pregnant.
I mean, yeah, but so my point is that now most of that is federal law, right? So that's why a lot of places, like even if you don't have a union, what you do is you sue your employer.
And what happens if you can't afford to sue the employer?
I mean, the union isn't free though. I pay, how much I pay $1,200 every year to be in the union.
So do I. But
right, that's what I'm saying. So
you'll find a lawyer. I don't think you'll find a lawyer except if his name is Brian Glass, and that's a shout out to Brian. I don't think you'll find a lawyer who's going to take a case for $1,200.
Yeah, but how often do you need a lawyer in your career, right? So if I pay $1,200,
I had to take the city to court. I had to pay Brian Glass.
Right, so you were in the union and they didn't even protect you.
They did. I had a great, nice attorney. Okay, and
so then why did you get somebody else on top of that?
I decided to sue the city and the DOE. Now, if more teachers, I can tell you this. So I tell you this stuff about going after teachers will end when more teachers start suing the city and start winning cases.
Suing the city for what?
Suing the city. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I mean, I'm telling you, the vast majority of teachers have been railroaded by the city of New York who have gone through 30-20 A's.
What's that?
That's when they try to terminate you. And I'm going to tell you something, and I tried to tell you this months ago. You might not like the union now, but one day, and I hope that day never comes, you might be accused of something. You might not do something. You might have a principal who's out to get you, and you're going to want the union there.
I mean, yeah, I guess I see what you mean, but I just feel like in any job that's a possibility. And I don't know, I'm pretty confident in what I do, and yeah, maybe somebody will come after me, but if they don't value my skills, guess what? I'm gonna take this value somewhere else.
Okay, do you really you got a child? You really want to go through that agita?
I mean, obviously I don't, right? Obviously I don't, but that's also why I keep 12 months of savings, right? Like I save my money so that I know that that's my number one right there.
You also have, listen, between you and me, I'm not going to get into details. You have a fallback at home, okay? A lot of people don't.
No. Like my fallback is my own savings.
You still have an extremely wealthy family.
Okay, yeah. I wouldn't say that's definitely a mischaracterization. I grew up privileged, right? I grew up privileged, but I was not like spoiled. Like we drive American cars, or not American, but not luxury cars. Like I had a Toyota. I have the Toyota I have right now is the Toyota from 12 years ago. Like my car is,
My son has a Subaru, and he saved up to pay for it.
Right. So, and that's what I'm saying. Like, we were allowed to buy one pair of shoes. They got too tight. You better tuck your toes.
Back on. Okay. Not. You know what? Not every. And we're living in New York. A lot of teachers, what we're making, really doesn't go well in New York City. Cost of living.
Well.
Okay. There are things you might want the union there. You might have invested 20 years in there, and you have your pension that you're looking forward to, even though what are you, tier 6? Okay, and then
something like that.
But you also have your health insurance. You have your health insurance. We have great health insurance.
Right. Yeah. And so what I'm saying is that I definitely see like the things that we have. That's one of the reasons I said I want to be a teacher in New York City. I see the salary is more. It's a bigger school system. There's probably more opportunities for me to, grow into different places. Like I chose to come to New York City rather than somewhere that was here for a variety of reasons.
You also realize
but all I'm saying is that I don't think some of those things are inevitable if the union wasn't in the picture.
I'll give you one inevitable, and because the union's in the picture, you can speak up. You can speak up if your children, if your students are not being treated right. I did that. They went after me for doing that. I went on TV 11 years ago. Okay, and I painted a target on my back. I couldn't do that if I wasn't tenured. I couldn't do that if we didn't have a union.
I mean, I don't know. People speak their mind. People are allowed to have political opinions outside their companies.
I didn't do it outside the company. I did it on the job.
Okay? I mean,
I did it. I did it about. I went on TV to complain about. To share about students being physically abused.
Okay, you're a mandatory reporter.
No, I'm not a mandatory reporter to Channel 5.
If you're not being listened to, I mean, but people do that all the time. There's whistleblowers. Whistleblowers are at private companies.
Oh, yeah, I did do that. I did call Albany. A kindergarten student was simulating masturbation with his penis and saying, "Suck it, suck it, suck it." And guess what? I reported it to Albany. Guess what? I got a letter in my file.
I mean, that's messed up. And I think too that teachers have agency, right? Like we have agency. Like we're not just we don't just go to these places and then lose everything. Like if you don't like a place, then and you can't make any changes from within, go to another school, go to another district.
You know what? We would love to go to another school, but in 2005, they got rid of the system that we can go to another school within.
And you know who did that? The union.
Yes, I know, and I'm not happy with the union about that. Okay, but the city also took the budgets away put the budgets in the schools. Okay, that they were responsible for the teachers' salaries. Yes, I'm not happy with the union doing that. Okay, I'm not happy with the union doing that. But you know what, Stephanie? In June, you can sign a piece of paper, however they do it, and you can stop paying dues to the union.
I could. But I am torn between that and my idealistic or optimistic nature that I would like to, work from within to reform the system. I would like to build coalitions and, try to do that.
But for me, if you were a chapter leader, I would have a difficult time because you still continue. And I'm going to speak.
Yeah, we can go into the school issue, the school reopening. That's our next topic.
No, I'm not even talking. Yeah, but let me just. Maybe this is a good segue. But you still bash teachers on Twitter. You still bash teachers. You still come off sometimes condescending.
I mean, Peter, have you read your blog?
Yeah, of course I read.
All right then.
You know what?
You called me a something. What did you call me?
Because if you bash a teacher,
a little pissant fart.
Yeah. Okay, but you were bashing teachers. You bash.
Well, hold on. I think there's a difference between bashing teachers and calling out things that aren't. I think the specific incident we're talking about is.
You bashed me for being an ATR.
I what?
You bashed me for being an ATR.
No, I didn't.
Want me to read it?
I bashed you. I said personally you.
Yes, you said when you found out I was an ATR, you went, "Oh, no wonder you're like that."
Okay, so maybe that was so listen, I've had a lot of ATRs come through our school, and there's ATRs who are awesome and amazing and like are looking for ways to get immersed into the school, and then there's the ones who just sit in the teacher's lounge and barely acknowledge you. So yeah, maybe it was a jab that I shouldn't have taken. I don't know what the full exchange was or how it got to there. I do want to address this comment though right here that said that I tweeted I think that the thing is those who can't do teach and those who can't teach gym. And I'm saying it mostly in jest, but I also think there is some truth to it.
No, it's not. No. I've been around great gym teachers.
Listen, it's in jest mostly. I've had great gym teachers too. I remember my elementary school gym teacher, Mr. was the man. Okay, so it's not. Sometimes you say things, but it's not fully true, but there is a little truth to it.
One of the best gym teachers I ever saw is 6 feet under now because of COVID. He's on the UFT memorial page.
And rest in peace to him. Was he a current teacher?
Yeah.
And when was this? Back in March?
It was, back in May at White Plains Hospital.
And it's
with leukemia.
I mean, it's a tragedy. Every single person, every single teacher who died from COVID and any other, it sounds like he had other complications going on as well.
Yeah, but so, if it wasn't COVID, maybe he would have licked the leukemia.
That's true as well. So, but at the same time, we did shut down schools then. We tried to take stock of it, but I mostly want to focus on now, like with the school reopening.
Focus on now.
Like right now.
By the way, I hope you're enjoying yourself. I really am.
I think we're trying to find some common ground.
Okay.
And I think I like this format better than Twitter, because I think on Twitter
too.
On Twitter, it's just goes back and forth. You project emotions.
It's two dimensional. Okay, it's not right. Like this. One more thing before we go.
Yeah.
Just remember that no union workers lost their jobs. They kept their jobs.
That's true. Which is also something we should be considering now as we go back. I do want to say a comment in terms of the ATR. This is definitely true, and I can understand that, but I think it also goes back to, again, who made this deal. An ATR has usually been excessed. They get stuck in limbo, sent from one school to the next.
50.
So, sometimes that happens. There's other reasons people become ATRs. But yeah, I can definitely understand the struggle of not being sure where your job is, going from school to school. So let's see. ATRs are getting passed around, but can't get fired because of union rules.
That's can't get fired. I mean, you can get fired. I mean, if a principal, writes you up and finds stuff that, whatever. Yeah, of course you can be terminated. Okay, but why not hire me? I can't get hired because I make too much money and I have too much previous knowledge.
Yeah, I do think that's a big issue. I think that principals should be in charge of their budget, but every teacher should just be one unit.
I think so. Yeah.
So I think it was a bad deal. So, but more into the school reopening, right? So we're at this point where teachers have been able to be vaccinated for 3 months now. Yeah. I think almost exactly 3 months. And I think it's a little oversimplistic to say that, well, 60% of the families chose not to go in. I think that
I got to disagree with you. It's about 75%, and 75% chose not to go in.
No, I think like they came out with a new number.
It's over 700.
Because 50,000 more families just opted back in.
Okay, so that's about 5.5-6% of the over 700,000 families that decided to be remote, and that's your choice, right?
I mean, yeah, no, for sure that's their choice. But what I'm saying is I don't think it's as simple as like they didn't choose to come because like they like online learning or because right. They're scared of the virus.
You know what? I agree with you. You're absolutely right. It's a whole mess of things. Okay? Each family's different. It's a whole, okay? And it's also, look, they want to stay. The ones who have chosen to stay home for the last 2 months, that's their right. You agree with that, right? You have
No. I don't. I agree that there should be choice in this year, right? I'm not saying that we should force families to come back.
But it's their choice. It's like
right. No, but what I'm saying though, Peter, what I'm saying is that the families are making that choice, but I think it's because they don't see their teachers in the schools. I think it's because they know oftentimes, especially at my level, right? I'm in high school, middle school, and high school level. They're going into the classroom to Zoom. And so, like, for example, this person says that there's no way that they're going to go in to do this. And so they're saying that they blame de Blasio. And I, we're talking a lot about the union, but I 100% blame the city just as much as the union, for sure.
I can't speak what's going on in the schools because I haven't been in there. Okay. And I'm not saying you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. Now, I do know, and I've heard, and I could be wrong, that some teachers don't have classrooms. And I think at the beginning of the year, if you were going to be remote and not on an accommodation, you had to Zoom from the schools. Now, I know of schools here in Westchester, school districts here in Westchester County, and I know of some in Orange County, that the teachers have to come into the schools and Zoom or Google Meets or whatever.
Do they have kids though in most of those Westchester schools actually coming in the buildings?
It depends on the district. I know Yonkers is still hybrid. Where I live here in Harrison, it was.
I definitely see kids at the bus stop in Harrison when I pass through.
But here's the thing: these schools up here are smaller class sizes to begin with. Okay, you have 30 kids in a class. Okay, Arthur Goldstein, who I respect to no end. Do you know who Arthur is?
He is the leader of
the leader of geez, I can't even think of it right now.
Unity
High School in Queens.
Okay.
Arthur writes about having 40 kids in his ESL class in a small classroom. You don't get that in Harrison. You don't get that in Orangeville. I don't even think you get that in Stamford. That's the thing. Okay? So for whatever reason, these parents are deciding not to send their kids to school. It's their right. And right now, de Blasio, he opened the schools. Well, you know what? Only 50,000, about 6% of the parents, the families that have decided to send them back to school. Each school is
right. Yeah, I think also too, like at the high school level, like some of the parents are deferring to their kids. And of course, a lot of the kids at this point are just like, well, the school year's almost over. I mean, that's not true for all. I have kids who are super ready to come back to the building and they're just waiting for the okay. But again, I think that we're not considering that, like, parents like, well, I could send them, but we already have this arrangement. It's like they're just going to school to Zoom anyways.
That's the parents' right.
I know, but my point is that we should, if we get more teachers back in the building, we can actually do live teaching. We can actually do live instruction in the class with the kids. And there's more of an incentive to be like, oh, my teacher's going to be there. Like, dope. I get to go,
I don't know about that. You don't know that. You don't know that. I mean, have you done a study?
I haven't done a study. Obviously, I'm just going from what I mean, that's not to say, like, I know that there's definitely families too who are legit super scared. I think that they're the more of the exception at this point. But I mean, I also see my kids on social media out and about and doing things. I see teachers on social media kind of out and about doing things or, talking about how they did things and they're on medical accommodation.
Yeah. So
that's what, I mean, I just think that's a little bit in poor taste to like be going out and about and doing things, but you can show up in the building.
Doing things. At what time and what are they doing? What are they doing?
Well, I mean, okay, I'm not saying it's during school hours, but I'm saying if you're on medical accommodation, you probably shouldn't be going away on vacation over break. And like, you probably shouldn't be going to like events like weddings or, family get-togethers.
And you know this for sure.
I know at least some people for sure. I can't say that's every single teacher out on accommodation.
Then you should be saying that some teachers that you know of have taken advantage of this, if it is true. Not using a wide brush to paint all teachers like this. There's more than 70 dead UFT teachers on that website.
So another teacher saying traveling around. We see them on Facebook.
But you know what? You don't know. What, going to the store? They shouldn't go to the store?
I mean, I'm not saying don't go to the store. I'm just saying that, though, at this point, though, also with the vaccine out there, we have to really start asking ourselves the question, is it justified? Is that level of fear? Like, you might feel that fear, right? And that's one thing. But in reality, is that justified? Like, you don't always get to act on your fears.
Well, how do we know who's justified? I mean, how do we know who's vaccinated and who's not? How do we know who decided for religious reasons not to get vaccinated? How do we know people who are, I hate it, Trumpers didn't get decided not to get vaccinated?
Oh, they don't want to get the Trump vaccine?
Okay. How do we know people who don't trust the science? We don't know that. We can't force somebody to get the vaccine. Okay. But when you see, but here again, I have an issue with you. When you tweeted that the UFT should release the names of all teachers who've been vaccinated.
No, I didn't say that.
Let me look.
I would never say that. I would never say that because I believe in medical privacy. And I said I was happy with the UFT's decision not to create a database of who's vaccinated and who's not. I definitely said that. What I said was that we should re-examine the medical accommodations. And the thing is that you have to go see a doctor to get your medical accommodations. Yeah. So they should say, okay, we need to reevaluate. You need to go to your doctor, and it should be part of the medical accommodations that if you've gotten your vaccination, right, that's something that's on that accommodation. No, so when you're filling out the paperwork and you say, oh, yeah, I have the vaccine, that should be taken into consideration.
And how do doctors know if we're vaccinated or not?
Well, that's between you and your doctor, right? That would be your own private medical thing. Like, you have to go with your medical records to get a medical accommodation in the first place.
Well, the medical accommodation doesn't say until the person's vaccinated or not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It should be reevaluated in that context.
Well, then don't don't be upset at the union about it. Be upset with the DOE because that's the one who's.
I mean, I'm upset with both of them, but I think that I just think that it's a little bit short-sighted for teachers to be taking this position and the union to be taking the position that we're not essential workers, that we have this special exception. We don't. Other professions that are essential workers don't get this.
So apples and oranges. Other professions don't take 2 months off in the middle of work.
I mean, some schools don't. Some schools don't. Some schools go all year round. It's the way that they're contracted. My cousin went to a school growing up that had this crazy schedule. It was a public school in San Diego. And they had this crazy schedule where they were do 6 or 8 week terms, and then they did 3 weeks off, and they had school all year round.
If you're a lawyer, you don't get 3 weeks off.
Okay, but that's the contract. That's the way school is. Actually, I have said before in the past, and this is another unpopular take, we should have school all year round. I think teachers get a lot of vacation. And yeah, I think this is a great point about the medical accommodations, is that it makes us look bad, right? This is another thing. Unions should not just be looking like, they need to think about these things, about how our profession looks long term.
Well, I don't know who Jessica thinks that people, I'm reading Jessica's comment, what diseases shouldn't get medical accommodations. Okay, because the city and the DOE, the city, the DOE, and the union went by the CDC list. So I would like Jessica to say, look at the CDC list and share which of those shouldn't get medical accommodations.
I mean, but the CDC also says that the vaccine provides a high level of protection.
I'm not denying that. I never denied that. What my problem is who decides you must prove you're vaccinated. You must prove you're vaccinated. Who decides that?
And nobody, it wouldn't be like, you don't just ask anybody. You would say, okay, the medical accommodations, we're recalling the medical accommodations. We're still have medical accommodations, but this is the form you need to get filled out by your medical provider, and it includes your vaccination status. And I think that if you have vaccination status, unless you're like have some really extenuating health circumstance that I don't know, we should probably help you address anyways, then it's, it's time. The vaccines are here. The rates are falling. You can say,
Well,
oh, we still have,
but we don't know. You know what? Yes, I believe things. I hope things are getting better, but we still don't know.
we still don't know, but we have to do a cost benefit analysis, right? We can sit here and say, we don't know, but every single day we do that, kids are losing essential developmental experiences.
You know that for sure?
Yeah, we know that for sure. Kids are like, learning loss was a thing until like 2 seconds ago.
I missed that. Please.
I said that, like, we all acknowledge that learning loss was a thing until like 2 seconds ago. We've seen it like in big disasters when schools have had to shut down, like in Katrina for extended periods of time. They started a special program in Florida for the kids who were leaving New York City to go to Florida because they were so behind.
How crappy schools Florida to begin with.
Okay, and then our kids go down there and they can't even keep up with them.
I want to tell you about a colleague, a fantastic teacher. Okay? All her second grade teacher students have gone up in grade level in reading. She has one student who second grade has not done well in kindergarten because I don't know if he's AD or ADHD, but it's just been for him.
And I'm not saying there's not kids, or maybe there's not some exceptional teachers out there, but just like how I'm saying we need to look at population level data for COVID to make those cost benefit analysis, we need to look at the population level data for our kids.
We'll be able to do that until there's testing next year. We're not able to.
Which is also why I think that they should, at least in the lower levels, do some testing.
How are you going to do testing? How are you going to do testing? I mean, I don't believe in testing to begin with. How are you going to do testing with kids at home?
If you have, well, that's what that's what another reason that we should try to get the kids back in the schools so that we can have a decent sample. We can have some data. I mean, the thing I don't like about the tests is that we don't actually use the data. We're like, oh, this kid can't read. This kid can't read. This kid can't read. Okay, pass them through and don't make any actual real interventions.
What we do is we use the data to terminate teachers.
Okay, right. So it's used in the wrong way. I used to work at a place when I was in college, a reading tutoring place, and we used that data. We gave them, these standardized regular tests, and we use the data, and we use it as a way to empower the kids too. So I would like to at least just get some record. I do want to address a couple things from UFT Solidarity in here. They brought up something about you could still get COVID with the vaccine. They said something about the variants. And to me, this is a very anti-vaxxer position, right? Like, you can't.
My pharmacist told me that. So my pharmacist told me that and still get.
Right. You could still get it, but we're talking a very high percentage, and we're talking severely cutting any of the really high adverse impacts to you down. So yeah, you can still get it, but we're talking not many people here.
Let me ask you a question. You got to, and I see you with your son on Facebook and whatnot. That's wonderful. You look like you have a great relationship with him. If there was a point, would you let him cross Fifth Avenue by himself if there was a 0.5% chance that he would get hit by a car? I want to do that for my son when he was 5.
A 0.5% chance?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
That's what.
I mean, I let my son. My son does not wear a mask when he's at school. When we go to stores, he does not wear a mask. Like I don't think it's good to be masking kids. He's been out. He's been doing his regular activities. He's been in soccer. He's been in karate. He's been going on play dates. We go to museums since they started opening.
That's the decision you make for your child. I can't make this. Can't make this decision for other people. I can't make a decision. Decision for other. Okay, because people. This is once in a lifetime thing that's been. Okay, we learned as we've gone along. And I'm going to tell you something. The DOE dropped the ball because they knew since March this might happen, and somebody would have a plan in place.
But we can't.
They didn't have a plan in place.
But it's the UFT's job also to make sure they do that. And in a lot of the conversations,
Stephanie, this is where I got to disagree with you. The UFT they kept on going to the DOE and asking them for a plan.
Yeah, but I don't think it was ever in good faith. And a lot of the different things that they would push in the conversation and push back, it didn't show that they were doing it in good faith.
You know this for sure. You know what? I got to turn the light on. Do you mind? Hold on.
Yeah, turn the light on.
Do you know this for sure, though?
I mean, I went to the town halls. I went and I have followed the back and forths. I've done videos on it. Okay. And in my opinion, I don't think that the union has really entered in good faith. And I do also think I've been looking more into it about where this is all headed with virtual learning. And I think the reason the unions haven't been acting in good faith is because they're in with the ed tech companies. Just like how Carranza just up and left and he went to a big ed tech company. I think the unions are in with the big ed tech companies and they want virtual learning to become the status quo.
Yeah, then you're going to need less teachers for.
Yeah, because that's the thing is that they don't care about you and me. They will sell us down the stream and go take one of those cushy jobs in the corporations. Look at Randy all getting, up with Biden. Like she's looking for a political position.
I don't think so.
I don't trust those top people. I don't think they're really for us.
I have to politely disagree with you. I do have my issues with them. I have run with more in elections. I have campaigned against the issues.
So this is a good question. You're breaking up a little bit, Peter. I don't think it's my end, is it? I don't know. Maybe people could tell us in the comments if it's me or Peter. But yeah, definitely something that we need to ask is where does the UFT invest its money? Yeah, Claire, you're right. They were involved with this virtual learning. I have a video coming out about that this weekend. Are you here, Peter? No, Peter is frozen. Okay. All right, so hopefully he'll come back to us. Randy got involved with Biden to get Trump out of office. Yeah, I'll have to look into her political history before this year. I mean, I just really started paying attention to see where she was before this. All right, Peter dropped, so hopefully he'll come back. And here's another reason that virtual learning, I wanted to address this comment right here from UFT Solidarity. So yeah, I see you connecting people with vaccine appointments, but it's a little, how can you be like, oh, go get the vaccine, but it doesn't really stop you from getting the virus. You still shouldn't go out and do things. You should still, wear double masks or whatever. Like, to me, that's a pretty like anti-vax position, more than me. If you're saying it doesn't work. So that's why I say that. All right, I don't know if Peter's gonna come back in here. I'll definitely hang out for a little bit longer. See if I can address any more of these comments. But I really do think, and like I said, I have a video coming out on this, that the unions have a longer game here, and that, you know, in the short term, it seems like they are protecting us, but they don't really care about our health, our safety, or even our job, because I don't know, there's some, they'll throw us under the bus and go take transition into the new ed tech online ecosystem. This is a good point here, right? When we're talking about weighing risks and really putting things into perspective. And this even has to do like with some ages without the vaccine, that you have as much risk from pretty much everyday normal stuff as you do from COVID, especially if you have the vaccine or if you've already had it. Tech could be good. Yeah. And so that it's that second part there, Ryan. It's all about the intentions, right? And that's how they're going to get us. They're going to be like, oh, it's individualized learning. It's for the whole child. We're ending the digital divide. All things where on the face, you're like, yeah, like I'm totally for all those things. But who is it really serving, right? They're taking all that data, they're feeding it into their central platforms. All right, we got Peter back in here. We're going to bring him back in. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, I don't know what happened to my Wi-Fi. I got to do this with the phone.
Okay, that's okay. You look better on the phone.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so where did we leave off?
I think that we were talking about the unions. Oh yeah, like the unions, their long-term goal.
I think you're just like in a conspiracy theory right now. Okay.
It does. No, I know it seems far out. I did a little research. I have a video coming out on it, but also somebody had said in here that they have been talking with ed tech companies even before the pandemic. Okay, so something else in terms of the union that somebody brought up was about how they spend all this money on politics.
Okay, well,
right. So I think that kind of feeds into what I was saying too. It's just this.
What union doesn't?
I think teachers union outspends most unions.
You mean more than the Teamsters?
I don't know how much do they put into politics. We'd have to look it up.
Look, I'm sure they do. Okay, I'm sure they spend more than $5 million.
All right, we'll have to see. They don't seem as political. They don't seem like they're caught up in the politics. Like the Teamsters, who's the Teamsters? The Teamsters are like for guys who do like repairs, right?
No, like Jimmy Hoffa and the Mafia and everything, okay?
So you're comparing the teachers union to the Mafia?
No, I'm just saying the Teamsters, the truckers, okay?
The truckers.
How about the PBA?
Okay, so that I'll have to do a video on this to look and see how much the different unions. I think it's a problem. I do think that like that's something that I said too. That's a take that I've had where imagine if we looked at teachers unions the way that we look at police unions. Imagine if police union bosses were going around with with people from the federal government, you know, like instead of Randy, it was, I don't know who's the head of the PBA.
Pat Lynch.
Yeah, Pat Lynch.
Pat Lynch doesn't want any reforms.
He did what?
He doesn't want any reforms to the teachers. I mean, the cops.
Well, I mean, I guess. But imagine if they were going around and they were like being all buddy with each other. Then we'd start to be like, oh, what's going on here?
I see police. Boy, all those police union guys who hung out with Trump. Wow.
Yeah, and people didn't like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You see, I don't think a teacher's ever accidentally shot a black kid.
I mean, yeah, that's not the nature of our job, but teachers have done some pretty messed up things to kids.
Yeah, but they're still alive. I mean, cops have a proclivity for, oops, I didn't know it was I thought it was a taser.
Well, yeah, that was pretty bad. That just happened. And that's an issue. I think that we definitely need to look at that. I'm just saying that I think that sometimes, like, because of what we do as teachers, we get away with doing things that if it was, we would definitely think twice about it. And so, like, one comment about how, oops, that's the wrong thing. The police union defends members when they kill people. I would obviously, again, teachers aren't hopefully going to be in a situation where they're killing people, but the teachers union does defend teachers who I would say are not good teachers, or teachers who maybe need to find another place.
Well, of course you're going to have that in any profession. Okay.
Right. So, I don't know. I feel like, we've gone through some good topics here. There's some things that we need to look into. I know people are saying, talk about more about the union spending, where they invest their money, but I don't think we can speak to that.
More about the open schools movement.
Okay, that's cool. We can talk about that. I definitely, I know, Dustin, when you were asking about the spending, I think that we need to have some solid numbers in order to have a good conversation on that. So that's definitely something I'll look into, make a video on. Maybe we can do another conversation either with Peter or with somebody else and talk about that. But okay, so you want to talk more about open schools. So let's talk about open schools.
I'd like to know why I see a lack of diversity. Okay. How come I can look at, the last 2 days I've gotten attacked on Twitter. Okay.
Well, I think that the reason that people came at you was because you wrote a blog post first.
Yeah, I did. And I think.
Okay, so it's not like they just randomly came at you.
Yeah, I know. But Upper West Side mommies, how come I don't see any mommies from the South Bronx? How come I don't see them mommies of color? All that was attacking me were white, elitist, Upper West Side or Upper East Side or Brooklyn mommies. Why? Why do I not see people of color?
Well, first of all, I would say that there definitely is people of color that are involved in it. I know, especially like in terms of the athletics. I went to an open schools. It was open schools and the PSAL guys, the New York About You New York, and I was the only white person at that event.
No. You haven't answered my question. You're avoiding.
No, I am. I'm answering your question. That there is more of a diverse coalition of people than you're assuming. Now, when it comes over to Twitter, I could say the same thing about the teachers.
I saw you rally on City Hall steps. It was all white people.
It was not 100% white. There was definitely people there of color. There was people who were immigrants that they were white, but they were immigrants. There was Hispanic people there. There was Asian people there. There was Black people there.
It was mostly the vast majority. You know what? I think my internet came back on. Okay,
I could say the other way too. Like, I don't see parents like actively out here saying that we should close the schools. I feel like they're more kind of just like it is what it is at this point. I did have parents ask me though, how can we get these schools open? Is there any way? And I'm not saying that have a conflict of interest and being like, oh, do this and do that. I would give them information. Some of them would say, oh, I would think about it. Some of them, they have a lot going on themselves.
I want to switch from my phone back to my laptop.
Okay.
So
I think you could probably go in on the same link and then just click in and out.
It's already there. It says Enter Broadcast Studio. I'm going to have a word with Optimum.
Okay. All right. So hopefully you'll get back in here. We'll wrap this up. We're coming on to an hour here. Oh, wait, you're right there. Boom.
Yeah,
perfect.
Right here. Okay. I hope we do this again. Now, you going to follow me back on Twitter?
Sure. I'll unblock you on Twitter.
Unblock me.
Yeah. But don't be tagging me in a million things or coming on my thing. I only blocked you once you were coming on every single one of my posts. Like,
yeah, but you know what? You got to go out of your comfort zone. You got to see what's going on.
Hold on there. I agree, but that's different than coming on every single one of my posts and like saying the same thing over and over again.
Look, you look. You've only been teaching for 4 years, and I'm not saying this is a bad
This is
one.
my 5th year.
This is your 5th
And
year.
I'm tenured.
You're tenured. Mazel tov. Okay? But, you know, I've been doing this for 25 years, so I've seen a lot more than you. Okay? You know.
Hey, stayed on the phone.
Don't think that.
Let's just abolish Twitter. Peter, you got to go back on your phone, man. This is a good comment for right now. You need some Verizon Fios in your life.
Now, wait. Am I on now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, let's wrap this up because I don't trust Alti anymore. Okay, so unfortunately, many Bronx parents aren't super active on either side, and they work full time. But so do the mom, Jessica. So do the parents on the Upper East West Side.
I mean, yeah, but a lot of those moms, and yes, they have this privilege to be able to do this, cut back work hours, who work less hours, and I mean, and they have the money to be able to afford to take the time to do that.
You know what's being done in the projects in the tenements of the South Bronx? Parents are banding together, and they're sending groups of kids to one person's apartment, and they look out for each other.
Right. So is that more safe, though, than sending them to schools? I don't think so.
I don't. That's what they want for the kids. That's the parents' choice.
So she said she has a lot of people that keep their kids home, but we have a lot of kids who need to be in person, the L's and the speds.
I agree with that. Right. Am I here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not frozen.
No.
Okay. People don't trust the DOE. I trust the DOE. I trust my sons more than I trust me.
And I get it. And so I just think that's another reason why we have to start building trust right now. We got to start getting people back into the building and start building trust. All right, Peter, I'm about to click you out. You look frozen again, but you know, I think that we can do this again. I appreciate everybody chiming in, coming in with the comments. If there's any other teachers out there, especially New York City teachers that want to come in, have a live discussion, you know, we can come up with some pre-planned topics. Yes, I agree, Ryan. This was a lot of fun. So yeah, let's do it again. And maybe Ryan, you could hop on here. Talking about privilege. Why do kids in the suburbs get in person? Exactly, right? That's definitely, and not all of them are fully open. Some of them are still fighting. But yeah, so I think we're gonna wrap this one up. Again, thank you, Peter, for coming on here. Do this. I'm about to go unblock you on Twitter, you know, send out a little tweet, let everybody know. And yeah, stay foolish out there, y'all.